All right, so the day that this drops will be the day of the Iowa caucus. I will be covering it live, so make sure to tune in for those results. But I will be giving my final prediction here for Iowa. Now, I'm not good at predictions. My predictions are terrible. I'm always wrong. So that's not a good sign, all right? So I'm going to make a bit of a bold prediction here. Not that bold. But we got an Emerson, Iowa poll that came out. It's got Bernie at 30, Biden at 21, Klobuchar at 13, Warren at 11. Pete at 10, Steyer at 5, Yang at 5, and Tulsi at 5. So he's leading obviously big here. The DMR poll did not get released for whatever reason. Whether or not it was because Bernie was winning, I don't know. I'm not really sure. If we take a look at these RCP numbers here, though, Bernie's in the lead by an aggregate number of 4 points in Iowa. Now, as you guys know, he can't really win the election without winning Iowa. At least I think so. Because so much of his campaign relies on basically that like steam train that starts with Iowa, then moves to New Hampshire, and then hopefully Nevada, and then it keeps going. He needs to win Iowa. If he doesn't win Iowa, I don't really know how we can win this election. I'm genuinely not sure if it's possible even. I don't really think it's possible. So that's why this is so crucial today for Iowa to come out. Now, I do think that Bernie Sanders is going to win. Now, the reason why I say I think Bernie's going to win, if you look at these RCP numbers, obviously he's up about 4 points in these aggregate numbers. And some of the polls have him at really, really high numbers. This one has him at a crazy one. Sanders +7 here over Warren at number 2. But I think that with that 4-point lead, and then Yang is at 3.8 and Gabbard's at 1.2, Yang and Gabbard will not hit viability, I think, virtually anywhere, because basically if you don't have 15% of the vote at a precinct, those voters have to go somewhere else. And so I don't think Tulsi and Yang's supporters, I don't think they're just going to make it anywhere. So, and I think a majority of their support is going to go to Bernie Sanders. So roughly like, you know, that 5 points, somewhere around there, 4 or 5 points out of that 5 points will go over to Bernie. So that should bump up his lead to 9. Now, the only concern that I have is Klobuchar will not hit the viability in, I think, like a lot of places, because she's only at 8.6 points. So as long as it's evenly split between Biden, Pete, and Warren, then it's okay, as long as there's only like a couple points to each of them instead of like all of them going to Biden. The only way Bernie loses, I think, is if second choices kick in. Like, let's say Pete doesn't make it in some areas and they end up going for Biden, although I don't think Pete supporters are going to go for Biden. I really don't. I think they'd prefer a Warren or a Klobuchar. So it's going to be tough to see here, but I do think Bernie's going to pull it out. I'm thinking he wins. He's probably going to win by about 2 points. I'm going to say like around 2 points. It could be as low as 0.5, but I think he wins by like 0.5 to 2 points, although I think he could win between 2 and 8 points, depending on how. If everything goes right, he wins by 8 points. He swoops the Yang and Gabbard support. He performs well on his own. And then the viabilities hit perfectly and the second choice numbers don't go to Biden. That will be like an 8-point victory. Now, he could do well and, you know, he barely pulls it out by between 0.5 and 2 points. Just because, you know, some second choices kicked in for Biden and he barely edges it out. That's probably the more likely scenario here. But that's what I have happening. I have him winning by most likely between 0.5 and 2 points in total, because he will take the Yang and Gabbard support. And then I don't think that the Klobuchar support will be enough. And I think Pete is going to make viability pretty much everywhere. I think he's going to make viability. And then if Warren doesn't make viability, that probably helps Bernie as well. So that's probably a good point as well. So hopefully she doesn't have viability in too many areas. But those are my final predictions. Again, my predictions are terrible, so hopefully I'm not wrong, because if I'm wrong, it means Bernie loses. But I'm not good at predictions, but let's hope he wins, because if he doesn't, I don't know how he can win the election.